You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Get Out Alive with Bear Grylls After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Get Out Alive with Bear Grylls After Show.
That is absolutely correct. It is Get Out Alive with Bear Grylls After Show here at AfterBuzz TV.
And we have a very interesting song this week.
I was about to say that too.
Yeah, I'm kind of caught off guard. Anyway, thanks for doing we're doing another after show for NBC's Get Out Alive with Bear Grylls.
That's correct.
I am your host, Stephen Lemieux, joined here in part with...
Hello, I'm James Wallington.
So official. Hello, I'm Canden Bliss. You can tweet me at Canden Bliss.
And
we're
me at James Wallington.
Did I do it James enough?
And them at James Wallington and Canden Bliss. And we're gonna break right down in this episode. It's actually kind of quick. It was surprising how fast the hour went and nothing really happened.
Yeah.
And
It was a really quick episode. Like, they were just... I thought it was going to at least be some... it looked epic, but it was just way too quick. Like, nothing really happened.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like now that there's less teams, well, there's been less teams every week, but with 4 teams left, I feel like there's so many fillers that they just kind of compile together to make an episode.
well, it just seems like at this point there's just random things that just don't really make sense.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so...
Can I just, real quick, so there was like a lot of pausing between when they were drawing knives. Like at the knife draw, it was like his little speech where he said, all right, 4 teams. And then it was like, dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, and then 4 tasks.
And then 4 tasks, and then dun, 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 dun. Like, it was like all this epic. I mean, I just, those 30 seconds, you can show something that's really amazing or something that's really relevant to the competition rather than some epic.
They should have changed it. You have to pick up these knives and throw them into that tree.
Exactly.
And then you get like, oh, we're going to change things up a bit. You're going to have fun choosing your teams that are going to eventually send you home.
Not dreading it.
I just think they did a really bad job with, comparatively, this episode to other episodes with how difficult certain things are.
Sure.
For the food, for the obstacle, for the shelter, and for the fire team. It's just...
Maybe not showing how difficult it really was.
Well, there's just no creativity. I mean, we're talking food. It's like, oh, hey, there's a goat there. Have at it.
It would have been cool to maybe see them pick it out of some ice block. Like, really have to work for that food.
Frozen in an ice block.
I mean,
you should be on the production team next year.
Yeah, challenge producer right here.
It's the same thing every time. I mean, the Spaniard route is one of those things where it's like, oh my God, this is all they get. And then the other times it's, okay, you're on food team. Hey, go get that animal carcass that's up there. Okay, that's pretty easy. Okay,
right.
Go. I mean, the first episode seemed a little difficult with the deer. They had to go in the water, get the deer out of the water. But even then, that was, okay, this deer's here, just get that out of the water. It's just weird how some teams get screwed over with the food because...
There's baby ducks that are almost alive.
Yeah, and
then other times it's not a big deal.
Like, it's a completely bizarre thing that you would never even imagine would be the thing to do. And then other teams are just like, oh, here's goat, like a meat. Yeah, okay, cool, meat. I'm good with meat.
Right.
And then Bear pops up, hey, eat these bugs real quick for no real specified reason. Not really.
Right. They didn't actually say what the purpose. I mean, yes, Bear always brings really weird
Dramatic
stuff for you to eat, but at least other times he's like, all right, this has, water in the fish eyeballs to keep you hydrated, or this has protein and maggots or whatever. But this was just like, this is really gross and weird, and it tastes like a turd or something, like Ryan said.
Ryan said it tasted like a turd.
Yeah.
What didn't make sense to me is when he did it. If he did it halfway through the journey, okay, yeah, I can understand. Get this extra energy before you get to camp and cook that goat. He did it when they were at camp, though.
It was like, let me interrupt you guys since you're already behind.
Since you're right now, you could probably just set up the fire and cook the goat. I'm going to just stop you there, and you're going to have to eat something really disgusting before you get this goat, which is going to give you more energy than this anyway. So, like, do it earlier.
Yeah.
Bear, like, do it when you did it the other episodes. This just kind of seemed like, oh, they didn't eat anything gross this episode? Here, bug. Take like 6 of those. Go. Bring them.
That was really gross.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have been able to do that. I think I would have been scared of it.
I'm surprised nobody got bitten.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it because they emphasized
That would have been
so
more
much.
dramatic.
Yeah, like they're putting it in and they put it in wrong, and all of a sudden it clamps under the tongue, and
Like,
it just.
I honestly thought Madeline wasn't smart enough to like hold the head right. I'm sorry, I don't mean that to be like disrespectful, but like she's just so like scatterbrained throughout the series.
I didn't think she was gonna do it. Period.
I thought, because by the way she was holding it, I thought she was just gonna put it in her mouth.
I'm proud that everybody did it. Like nobody really freaked out that much. Like no hesitation. But
I think at this point they're just like,
just
put
just
it
do
in.
it.
Just
You have
give
to.
me
You
it.
have to do it.
There's only one each of us. Okay, just. Ugh. It tastes like I just ate a turd, and then Austin's like, or 2.
Sorry, we're having.
And Bear's like, that's next week, ladies and gentlemen.
Well,
Oh God, yeah, right.
to just kind of go back just a little bit, I think that with the crevasse and the goat being in there, the only thing I can imagine why it wasn't a little more intense is that was so dangerous. Like actually getting in that thing could be potentially so dangerous that they could almost not make it as dangerous as they wanted to for the contestants.
I see what you're saying.
Like if they really put that goat like down in there all the way where you had to really like go down, like that's super dangerous.
Sure.
My whole thing.
I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't be like, nope.
Jumping ahead a little bit to the survival challenge, just for a quick reference, I would have liked the survival challenge to kind of be where the food was,
Yeah.
and they had to guide them to get that rope, and maybe there was like a fourth of a deer carcass down there or something that they had to go and they attach the rope and get it and pull it up. That would have been a great food challenge because it would have been kind of dangerous, really cool looking, but at the same time not as difficult as putting Jeff in that one position. And then, I mean, the survival challenge could have been more difficult because it just really didn't look that hard.
Well, the whole episode seemed to be about this crevasse thing. And
The glacier and the crevasse.
and the fact that was really only a 5-minute, little nothing in the show. I feel like they built it up to be something huge, and then it just really wasn't that big a deal. Like, yes, it was probably a scary situation. It was a little dangerous, but it wasn't something that they had to continuously face.
Right.
And it was a mandatory crevasse. And what I mean by that is they talk this whole journey up, and it looks on the mountain that it's like a huge journey. You've got to be very careful walking across this glacier because there's lots of crevasses you can just fall right into. And that's the only one we see them come to, though. We didn't see them navigate around one because there's one in their way. We didn't see them have to help themselves over one. Literally was, hey, obstacle team, just go for a jolly joyride and walk them to the food team's part.
That's,
I mean-
I agree. There was really no obstacle other than being chained together.
That's
So
true.
one person slips and someone else slips. That could be challenging in a sense, but at the end of the day,
And then he
where's
criticizes
the obstacle in walking down a snow-capped mountainside?
That sounds
know?
so pretentious of us to say. Where's
I
the
know.
obstacle in walking down a snow-capped mountainside? I do that
just
daily.
sat and slid my butt down.
You
the
would have
side.
you would have went Mama Donna, just sit on your butt and slide.
I would go on my stomach like a penguin and do this, just come on.
But then he criticizes Jim and Austin. It's like, oh, you didn't put the biggest guy in back. Okay, well, I figure if one person falls in front, I think the 5 people behind him, or no, 7 at this point, are enough to keep him from dragging everyone else down. I don't think putting one big guy in the back would have made much of a difference on that
I
behalf.
think the big guy in the back made the most sense because if they slip, let's say Austin did go into whatever however he says it. I like when you say the crevasse.
The crevasse.
The crevasse. If he had slipped in there, you have the anchor in the back.
No, that's what Bear was criticizing
And then
before. They didn't
it
do
keeps
that.
more people from falling in. Whereas if the weaklings are kind of in the front, then like 4 or 5 people could fall in before somebody else, I don't know, hooks it in.
I understand, but I'm just saying with such a strong team, I mean, they have Chris, they have Jeff, they have Ryan, they have Lucky. They have Lucky. I mean, there's not really much difference in how big they are.
Well, yeah, that's true. Jeff was struggling with his knees though on that
Yeah.
ice.
So I wouldn't.
So
was
I
Jeff in the
wouldn't-
far back? I wouldn't have. Put
I don't
Jeff
know
in the
where
far-
he
I think he
was.
was second. I think that's why he was saying.
So
no,
the
Jeff was the
smallest,
one in the
smallest
crevasse.
person.
I know, but
No, when they're roped together.
Austin
Oh,
was
okay.
first, and then I think it was Jeff.
So put the smallest person and the injured
I think that's
person
why
in the
they
front.
interviewed him about that.
That's
is-
weird.
Yeah.
They should have just. No, I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna say they should have just put Louis in front and then untied it.
Steven!
That's so mean. I'm
That's
sorry.
so mean.
It's just Lucky and Louis' team were kind of unlikable this episode, and they're trying to paint them up a lot. But then, moving on to Shelter, I gotta say,
Get it all out.
okay. Have you heard of a bivouac? Do you know what that is? Do you
No.
know that snow is an insulator?
I do know
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Bivouacking is, I might not even be pronouncing it right, but it's you either take your sleeping bag or whatever. Usually they have pods because they're meant for doing that. But you pack the snow around you so your body heat heats up your sleeping bag and you're insulated. And then the wind doesn't get to you. That's basically the point of it. So putting rocks up from one direction.
Yeah.
And you'd think, and my biggest problem with this is mostly Jim and Austin should have said something. Because
So should have Ryan and Madeline, because last week Ryan and Madeline got yelled at because they put sticks or something up to try to block wind on one side, and it was crap.
well, I think Austin should have said something because he watches the show. He's seen all of Bear Grylls' shows.
True.
Yeah.
So
true.
it's kind of obvious. Hey, Austin, I know that you're not Shelter, but you guys might be freezing a little bit in the morning if you don't
but
say something.
I feel like with the shots that they did show, they were more on a rocky, surface than snowy surface, if I remembered correctly. I mean, sure, there was snow scattered around, but maybe it wasn't deep enough to really fully get a body submerged under for isolation.
But they don't need
Maybe
to.
you go get snow.
Get snow, yeah. That's the thing. They had other people put the rocks up. They didn't themselves even
That's
sleep
true.
near the rocks.
Who did put the rocks up? Ryan? Ryan put the rocks up
Yeah.
just like they did last week.
Yeah, it wasn't even. They didn't even do any of the hard work. They could have been taking trips back and forth for those 25 minutes while they started the fire, getting snow, getting snow, getting snow. They have a huge bag that they could have used from the fire. Like the fire equipment came in a bag. Use that. Fill it with snow. Bring it back. Fill it with snow. Bring
I
it
think
back.
they laid the emergency blanket on the bottom, which was not a good decision in my opinion. An emergency blanket is like foil, so it keeps you insulated and warm. Like that should have gone over the top, I feel like.
Unless it was to prevent body heat from escaping.
Depending.
They
Yeah,
had the sleeping bag pads too.
Oh.
They had like a sleeping mat
I don't know.
and then a sleeping bag.
I'm so disappointed that Lucky and Louie did not go home this week, just because of this. I mean, and I don't.
I think they would have. I think they absolutely would have, and I think Bear was a little frustrated with it as well.
Which is interesting because last week we decided that we didn't really think that Jim and Austin would have gone home for their mistake, even though everyone like, oh, they should have gone home. They should have gone home. We all agreed that we didn't really think they would.
Yeah.
But now this week it's like, okay, you guys.
Well, he even said, "Lucky, you got lucky."
Yeah.
And I think that's very telling that they would have gone home had they not won the survival test.
And to your point though, like, why is he saying Lucky? Lucky's the one who did
yeah,
that
you said
survival
that.
test.
That's true. I did say that. And I feel like every time that they do something that's like a little off, he blames Lucky. And it obviously he's the dad. He's, older, a little bit wiser, knows a little bit more about the wilderness, but you can't just be on one person's butt the whole time. You have to spread the love a little
Yeah.
bit.
Look, I gotta say, Lucky did a good job with that survival challenge.
He kicked butt.
Louis didn't do crap, all right? Lucky, Chris and Jeff are all the way half up the mountain, and Lucky's just like Iron Manning this crap. Bump, 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 and it's up.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Chris and Jeff, you got owned by this dude. Like,
They did.
like he was a machine at work, and that I gotta hand it to Lucky on that one. But Louis, about time is what she says when they get to the top to win it.
Yeah, that was.
But I'm like, yeah, maybe you should have won the other survival challenges. It's not his fault. It's no one's fault except your own that you didn't win the other ones.
I think that they definitely communicate well as a team. For some, like the way that they talk, they can like distinguish orders to each other a little bit better than other teams. Maybe it's because they take the emotion out or something while they're doing it, but then again, they don't because they're being each other's cheerleaders. It's kind of a weird
Dynamic.
And then they have these mushy gushy moments, which are amazing. Like what Lucky said about his daughter at the top of the mountain. That was beautiful.
I loved that.
Lucky is a great dad, and he's an amazing man for doing all these things. I don't. Just gonna stop talking.
Say it, Canden. Say it.
I like Lucky.
Okay. Don't worry, we can be political tonight. No, I'm kidding. I like a lot of the people in the show. There's no one who's really dislikable, if that makes sense to you, except for at times Louis, but that's not really a personal thing. It's more of just from a standpoint of the competition in the show.
Yeah.
And Kyle and Royce, they're not on the show anymore, so we can't bring them up. No, but they were actually, it was Kyle we talked to last week, and he was actually nice to talk to and everything on the show and talk about the experience. But moving on to, so we've covered shelter, we've covered a little bit of food, but let's go to fire.
Yeah.
Okay. So just in case anyone forgot, Journey 2, me and my mom and Robin and Wilson were on fire, and we were given those stupid hexagon cubes, and all we were told is, hey, light the wrapper. Just light the wrapper. And it says right there on the thing, light the wrapper. So we tried for about a freaking hour to light the stupid thing, and then we had to ask Jeff to come over, and, we got a little bit reamed for that. But again, for that to happen again, for everyone to know that we had an issue with that, and to just let it happen again, I was like, what? Duh. Like, we did realize when we lit the fire on Journey 2 that the smaller blocks that we had on top of the cubes were just open. They were just little circles, and they were just the stuff without the wrapper. Those lit on fire instantly. So, like, what Bear said at Bear's Camp, like, it's Journey 7. You guys should, like, know. Don't just, like, do the same thing over and over and over again when it's not working.
Let's put them in a little square and see if it works that way.
Yeah, let's both get on it and try to do it at the same time and, like, make more sparks happen. We tried that on Journey 2. We had Jeff and Wilson and, like, me. Everybody was trying to do the sparks over and over and over again. It doesn't work. You have to improvise, so I get it. Like, they should have known. All of the above people involved in that should have known to do something different.
I agree. Journey 7.
Journey 7. Are you kidding me?
25 minutes. It took me 11 seconds. It's like, thanks for the input, Bear. We really feel great.
I have to say it probably took us a little more than 25 minutes on Journey 2, but maybe it wasn't that big of a deal at that point. But when you're on top of a snowy mountain and it's getting dark, it's pretty
Make some
important.
fire. But they do end up making the fire eventually. I think one of them probably just ended up ripping open, and they discovered that, oh my God, you're supposed to light what's inside.
What did they end up lighting? It looked like a piece of meat or something.
Well,
it was like
Black.
Yeah, maybe it was like a stick or something. I don't know where you would find a stick, or a piece of cloth or something.
I don't know.
I was just thinking of what Bear was doing.
What?
Like when it was ground up, the block was
Yeah.
That's
But that's
what I
not
thought
what
you were referring
Oh,
to.
no. When they actually lit the fire on the
okay.
mountain, they had like this little black piece of something that they lit. I didn't know what it was.
Maybe it was another kind of hex thing, whatever.
Maybe they had emergency flint or whatever, the charcoal paper or something.
I don't know.
Which is what they did last week.
It was something that caught fire. And
Yeah,
they got
right?
A fire,
And they got a fire started.
and they made these little disc grill from rocks. Looked like something you could buy in World Market. Hi, get these like rock grills. It's like the fire underneath it.
But apparently it tasted good.
Looked delicious.
Looked pretty good. I think if I was on top of a snowy mountain and I had some warm goat meat, I'd be all up on it.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
There's a lot of goat meat.
There
I
is.
would have laughed when Bear pulled out those bags. I'm like,
Right?
I don't
probably
need
would've
to
passed.
eat this today because I got a whole goat to eat. Thank you, though, Bear. I appreciate you looking out for me.
I will pass.
Here, Bear, let me attach
some in
this
the
to you
bud.
and have it like bite him.
Yeah, right.
It's like, I don't need this bug. Look at this. We got a goat. So I don't know. It's judging the teams. Let's say Shelter did. I'd give them a 2 out of 10.
Right? If that.
Food. I mean, they got the food. They carried
I
the
don't
food.
think the food team had any issues. I mean, other than Jeff
Yeah.
having some trouble in the crevasse, they did their job.
They
for
created
sure.
the,
And they were on it with the skinning of the goat and everything.
They created the stretcher.
Yeah.
Made it easy for everyone.
Yeah, that was a weird place of contention. Like, I don't understand whose idea it was to make this stretcher and who was against it and why. And
But I loved what Madeline said. Oh, I think it was around that time when she was like, you know,
Why did we decide now?
hold on, I put it in my notes. Holler if you need me. Ryan will help.
that was actually really funny, I have to say. Let me know if you need any help. Ryan will help.
Hashtag come on, Canden.
Like, go through me. I'll make sure he helps you.
No, but I think that's kind of a trend, to be honest.
Well, not anymore.
Well,
After tonight. See, I'd give food team, I mean, not a perfect score, 8 out of 10. I mean, good job. They did everything they were supposed to.
but I mean, would you have stopped and made a stretcher, or would
No.
you have kept dragging the thing?
It depends. I don't know how hard it was for them. If it was really being difficult, and I could tell that maybe it was, especially with something heavy and you only having 2 points of carrying, might get a little difficult. I think the stretcher was more to keep it flat and above the ground further, so
Yeah.
it wasn't weighing down as heavy.
I agree.
And even it out. So,
And it really, to be honest, the stretcher does not take that long to make.
yeah.
If you know how to make it, which we were taught, it doesn't take that long.
Is it just 2 ropes with the ropes intertwining to hold the weight?
No, it's 1 rope, and it's like you have to do 12 loops or 12 rungs down, and then you take the end of you have to leave slack at the end, and then there's a certain type of knot that you wrap around one side, and then the rope comes around the other side. You do the same knot on the other side, and you make 12 rungs. And then there's like another knot that you tie at the end, and you pull the rope through, and then it makes a stretcher.
Nice.
So could you do it right now if we gave you a rope?
I could try.
Bring out the no, I'm just kidding.
I could try.
Okay, so I mean, they did a good job.
Well, here's the
only-
other thing about food. I don't know if it was Louie or somebody was making a comment about Jeff having some trouble helping carry the goat. And everybody's like, we got to do this fast. We got to do this fast. Well, 2 things. The only option for Jeff at that point is, number 1, I'm on the food team. I have to carry this goat and do my task, or I'm going home. If I ask for help, I'm out. And then everybody else is going to say, well, why didn't you just ask for help? And then it's like, well, because if I ask you for help and you help me, you're going to backstab me later and tell Bear that I needed help. So there's really no win situation
Yep.
in that. And I think that's what his mindset was too, going into the crevasse to get the goat. I mean, I think Chris should have gone. That's obvious.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that should have happened. But I think that's the mentality of everybody now, is like, hell no, I cannot ask for help or I am done.
Yeah. Well, you started to see that more and more as the team started leaving. It became more cutthroat. And I remember in our first after show, I was like, the only thing that I feel like with this show is there's no backstabbing, and there should be, because that's how you play the game. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it is a game. Like, you're playing for money. Yeah. And of course, once teams start leaving.
But it's funny. This show is kind of, it's weird because even though it's starting to pick up just a little bit, that competition element is a little bit removed from the situation. I don't know if it's just because literally it's such an intense survival situation that you have to kind of bond with everybody you're around, and you have to kind of support everybody, and you don't really know, unless it's just your task, you don't know what was right, what was wrong, was it good that someone helped or was it bad? And so it's gotten to a point where now they know they can judge it a little more, but it's such a big group unit that has to move and get through this stuff, rather than just individual teams seeing who can do it better.
Sure.
So it's a strange thing for me to watch, and being there and seeing how, the dynamics of the group worked, and that really none of us felt like there was any backstabbing going on, like zero. Because it wasn't an outward thing. Nobody got into a fight, really. I mean, like, my mom and Wilson got in a fight right at the beginning. Like, little people had some conflicts, but it wasn't like this battle of teams. Right. And I think that's interesting. I wonder if it'll be like that in the next seasons, or if people will realize now how much it actually is a competition, rather than like a heartfelt journey amongst kin.
Let's hold hands and gather firewood.
Exactly, which is what we were all kind of hoping for. I think when we went into it, we wanted that camaraderie, and we almost forgot the competition element. I mean, I've said before, the money was not in anybody's mind. Maybe now that it's down to 3 people, it will be. But when there was 20 people there, the money was just like a freaking hassle. To carry that money, it was like, I don't even want this stupid money. You were so focused on what was in front of you, you didn't care. And now it's getting more intense, but I just find that whole dynamic very interesting.
I mean, if you want that kind of reality show, I think it'd be great to have here's like a crashed plane. You have 20 people that they put on this place, and they have to survive for a month. And that's the show. And then America decides who wins. I think that'd be crazy. and then everyone can have their feel-good moments of, oh, I'm going to get firewood with you. But this is not that show. This is more.
This is not that show.
This is not. If you're expecting that, to be the terms of getting out alive, it's not that.
Find a different show.
Yeah, Bear is the judge, jury, and executioner in this show, and he did not believe that Ryan and Madeline would get out alive tonight.
Do you think that story made sense this episode? Like, do you think they made it very evident why? Or do you think, I personally think Ryan took a little bit of the Mama Donna train out. He pretty much, was like, I'm done.
Well,
I
also-
felt his whole, just fight. Just go away. He's like, I'm just done.
I was just kind of annoyed. I was kind of sick of Madeline, done with her, with not doing anything and complaining a lot.
I honestly think Bear went into this wanting to get rid of Lucky and Louie. I think his
course.
mind had
Oh, I'm
already
sure.
been made up before he, before he knew that they won the survival test. When they won, he probably was like, oh, shoot. I feel like they were meant to go home this episode, but forces of the game decided to keep him in longer, and he had to choose somebody.
I think it would have been great and stirred up a lot of publicity for the show if Bear just said, I know you won the survival challenge.
Yeah, oh my gosh, even though last week she was the one that said, I know they won the challenge. Wasn't
Yeah, she was the one that called Jim and
Yeah.
Austin out last
It
week
would have
saying
been
that they should have gone home.
So
that would have been
amazing.
great.
I know you won the challenge, but
I am the
you would
ruler.
not get out alive.
my
You're
God.
still gone,
You're still
That
going
would have been
home.
great television.
right?
We poisoned your food. You would not get out alive.
You're not getting out alive.
But I think the reason why Ryan just kind of had this defeated attitude is I feel like when you're sitting there, okay, Lucky and Louie have the immunity this round, awesome. They would have gone home. Then you're sitting next to Jeff and Chris and Jim and Austin, two teams that Bear has really kind of idolized and has done nothing but be their cheerleader. I mean, he's everyone's cheerleader, but
Right.
especially at Bear's camp, it seems like he sings praises for those two teams. I feel like Ryan kind of was like, well, I know we're going.
I think it's unfortunate because Bear loves Ryan. I mean, yeah, there was a couple moments where I think Ryan may have disappointed Bear when he, didn't have Robin and Wilson, when they were kind of struggling in the water. But I mean, he called Ryan, Rambo, and he was like the Superman of the show. And I just think maybe Bear was a little disappointed to just see his kind of effort and attitude just fade, just kind of drain out of him.
Especially when they get so much meat. That's
Yeah.
something to bring you up.
But
And
I feel like I commend Ryan for that, though, honestly.
course.
Because if there's two teams that, at the end of the day, you do form relationships with these people. It's a crazy situation to not,
I think out of all
a connection. But I just feel like why throw other people under the bus when you kind of already know you're going home? You don't want to look like an ass on TV.
out of those three teams, they were the ones that deserved to go home, just for the fact that I've seen Jim and Austin put in equal effort and rock things down. Austin drank urine the first day. I mean, there you go. And then on Jeff and Chris's behalf, I've seen them push through the hardest stuff ever just to get to where they are. I've seen them on the block for being chopped, and they got out of it because they want to be there. They want
it.
And just like Jeff said, it's I know that it wasn't the best choice for me to go down in that crevasse to get the deer, but I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. And it's okay, well, you want to be here. You're here because you want to know that you can survive in this kind of wilderness. Madeline and Ryan, however, Ryan seemed like he definitely was a strong competitor the whole season. Madeline, however, just every episode there was just one other thing that just really wasn't flowing. It wasn't get out alive with Bear Grylls. It was Ryan will get out alive and Ryan will drag Madeline
with
out
him.
alive if he needs to.
That's a really good way of putting it, though.
Yeah, it is.
Out of the three
I thought it
teams.
was funny though that her attitude kind of perked up when his was not. It was funny how usually Ryan was the strong one and she was just I'm here. And then today it was Ryan's just over it and Madeline's I don't want to go home, and we did really good, and she looked happy to be there and she wanted to be there. I don't know. It was very interesting to see how those that whole dynamic changed.
Smiles don't burn calories, but frowns do. Ryan, you're going home. Apparently,
Right?
And if you like to smile, you should definitely go on over to iTunes and type in AfterBuzz Get Out Alive.
It will make you smile. I know, now it's hot in here.
Getting a little hot in here.
And you should give us a comment. Leave us a little comment on our iTunes page for this podcast. Rate us 5 stars. Tell us why you love us. Tell us why you love all of us. And tell us why you follow us on Twitter. Here
Tell
at
us
AfterBuzz.
why you follow
Tell us why you follow us.
on Twitter.
We need to know. And while you're there, you can check out all of our other great AfterBuzz TV after shows, as well as head over to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our brand newly modified website. We've taken in all your comments and what is that word that I'm looking for? Whatever. We've taken on all your
How about take a
information.
breath?
Suggestions and
There
opinions.
you go.
or-
Take a breath.
Suggestions and
There you go.
opinions. We've taken all your input.
Your input.
Your input,
Your
and
2
we have
cents.
made the AfterBuzz site of your dreams. So please go on over to AfterBuzzTV.com, check out our guest page, our host page for host bios, and I will take a breath real quick. And all of the shows that we have previously done in our time here at AfterBuzz TV.
See how nice that is? Just calms you down.
Namaste.
Whatever.
Hell no.
We're doing
No,
yoga.
So thank you again. Go to iTunes, and let's get back to our scheduled programming.
And if you need a new announcer on your latest commercial, please talk to Stephen Lemieux.
At Stephen Lemieux, yes.
Oh
thank
my
you on
gosh.
Twitter.
Okay, so
I'm trying to look through my notes
So
to
I've-
figure out what we haven't.
I've been avoiding this for a while now because I didn't really want to make the reference, but it
Okay.
finally came up tonight. The bathroom situation on this show, and the fact that, okay, this is going to sound like a corny joke, but honestly, they gave them Mexican food and then gave them toilet paper. Like, I couldn't,
Oh my gosh, you're right.
you're right. I didn't think about that.
I couldn't not point that
Well,
out.
I
I'm
have
sorry.
to be real. It's necessary. Like, those two are definitely friends. Mexican food and toilet paper. Like, it's, it's necessary, right?
From Walmart, no less.
Oh my gosh, those little plugs are too much.
I
No,
know,
but that's
right?
funny. But I can't imagine. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't want Mexican. I mean, it would sound good, but of all things,
But they give everyone else such temperate food, like, okay, burgers, steaks, things that are normal. Here, have these peppers and onions and fajitas. And
wouldn't you feel like that'd be the last thing you'd
Beans.
want?
No,
'Cause you're
well,
eating
that was-
beans already.
That's true. I wouldn't have wanted the refried beans, but definitely I was craving like chips and salsa and guacamole like nobody's business. Like
Oh,
me and my mom,
guacamole.
that's the first thing that when we got to finally be somewhere where we chose what we were supposed to eat, that's the first thing we wanted was Mexican food.
really?
Yes, it was because it's salty, it's spicy, there's flavor. Like when you're eating like dirt and beans and bugs, it's just like the flavor. Your taste buds are like, ooh, what is going on? And then you put like guacamole and some spicy salsa, and your like world has changed.
There is just something to say about a big plate of all your Mexican food mixed
Right?
together with sour cream and guacamole.
Why is it just so
shoveling it in.
good? My little brother just stirs it up in a pot.
And then
Exactly.
you take chips and you just
dip it.
Oh
and
my
you just
gosh,
eat it.
now I want
Guys, we're getting Mexican food after this. All right, that was
I'm
off
hungry.
topic, but still, like, I wouldn't want Mexican food in this situation.
No.
You're safe from elimination for tonight, so you're gonna have to spend the next 3 days after
In the
eating
bathroom.
this. Yeah. Do they get to take away the things from the P&G box with them?
That was actually I wondered that, like if she got to take it and like what if she didn't have to use the bathroom right then? That would suck, right? Or did she get to take it with her in the next journey or something?
Well, you can't exactly waterproof toilet paper.
We
anyway.
should tweet her. We'll tweet her and ask
and ask.
if she took it with her on the next journey or if she had to use it immediately. Like
That
you either
whole
go
roll right now.
right now or you don't get to use it.
I think it would have been so funny if it was like single ply, like the stuff you find in like the public restrooms. Like they didn't even get her like Cottonelle or anything.
It was Charmin, duh.
Walmart, hey. Okay, but yeah, sorry, I had to point that out. And then they don't even get the call home. Everyone else
That's
gets like
true.
everyone else gets all of the rewards up until then. The shampoo, the
Yeah, what made last
Listerine.
week so unique that it had to be the Skype then?
I feel like every reality show has one of those moments.
But I figured that you would get it every time. For like from now on, that was part of the part of the
Yeah, I
prize.
thought so. But then, because I thought they were going to open it, it's like my favorite thing in the world. And I see toilet paper, and I'm like, oh, it's not a laptop, sucker. Sorry.
Yeah, they probably got a little gypped. I'm sure that's what they wanted.
It's probably Jim and Austin had the laptop and like, yeah, nobody else can have it. And snapped it over
Snapped it in
there.
half. Thanks, Walmart. I'm just gonna break your computer. Screw you.
I probably would have traded the food in for that.
For the Skype home. Yeah. At that point,
Especially when you're in the final stretch, I would want some encouragement from family.
Well, and they just had goat. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, okay.
oh, I was like, where are you
It's
going
like
with
you're gonna
that?
have, it's like you're gonna have a huge feast in a few days when you're done on your last journey. So it's
That's true. At this point, they really don't have that many days left.
Yeah. And
I
they
would-
just had a good protein-rich meal. Like, it wasn't that needed to have that feast pit.
right. Which is
Yeah.
funny. They didn't really show them really feasting on the food as much.
No,
it
they
was more
didn't.
the toilet paper and the hot tub bathing. You know.
Of course.
Was anyone on the show a vegetarian?
Oh.
Yeah, Kyle.
Kyle.
right.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, and they didn't get.
Oh,
They
that-
had stuff to eat, I'm sure, at the feast pit. But
Uh-oh.
what's-
We have news, breaking news. She could not take the toilet paper with her.
Oh my.
She had to go right then. This is from Jeff, though, not Louie.
okay. If Lou was watching right now, I'd be like, oh, she hates me so much right now after everything I've said.
That
That
stinks.
stinks. Man. I would have been bummed out. I would have stuffed that stuff in my bra, like it's put it in my hair, like my ears, my underwear, like just stuff that
Just
shit
a little
everywhere.
extra something. Yeah.
Just steal it. Just take it with you.
Just like wrap your torso in it. It's like,
Yes. It's like a mummy bandage yourself.
you gotta smuggle it somehow. You gotta keep it. So we've gone over that. Let's go into the survival challenge, which we dropped on a little bit, but just like talk about what it is. It was basically, hey, jump down a cliff, attach a rope, climb up the cliff, pull up the rope.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how it should have been it could have been a little bit more exciting, a little different. To me, it seemed very simple. A simple task to execute. Like, yes, you have to be taught how to do it, but it seemed very like, do this, put the rope here, and you pull this.
Right.
Like, very simple. The fact that everybody had such a hard time with it is hard for me to believe.
It should have been 3 bags.
Oh yeah, something.
Yeah.
The competition was seriously done.
Like weighted down bags. Like every bag is a different
It
amount
should
of weight.
It should have been coordinate to attach it, get up, and then you both have to pull on it.
But I feel like every challenge has been more really geared around a survival test, like building a slingshot or
That wasn't really
building a
survival.
raft. But I mean, like survival skills, like if you need to like build something, you know, you're building a slingshot for hunting purposes later on. If you were really stuck in these situations, this was just ropes.
Well, okay, so they should have done the thing where you build like the ice hut to make yourself warm, right? That's what Bear does in his shows when he's on snow. He builds like an igloo almost, and then you sleep inside of it. And he got on to Lucky for not using snow to keep warm. Like, to me, that would have been a more useful survival test.
like building an igloo.
Yeah, like building some sort of igloo.
This did remind me slightly of the Bear Grylls with Will Ferrell, if you guys watched that at all. There was actually a scene in that where they were walking on an edge and the whole edge collapsed, and it ends up with either Will or Bear hanging by a thread, and one of them's holding them, and it was completely unscripted. And it's probably one of the greatest clips I've ever seen from the Bear Show, because Will Ferrell's like cursing at the store, like, what do I do? What do I do? Am I gonna die? What do I do? Great thing, but that would have been a great thing too, to have them. Okay, you have to support the weight of your partner. You have to figure out a way. Your partner, you have to choose which one of you is going to do it, and you have to fall backwards and let the full weight of you land on your partner, and they have to pull you up. That would have been a survival thing. You have to be able to pull someone up who has fallen out of a belay.
I agree.
That's true.
And then this whole thing was about that. It was about having the weight in the back to be able to pull people out of the crevasse.
And using some certain specific type of pulley to take the weight off to make it, feel like less weight.
But
Yeah,
this
that
felt,
makes sense.
or those bags should have had like supplies or something for them.
It may just not have looked as exciting or technical as it was. Like, it may have been more technical than we can see, and probably most of the tests are. I mean, even building a slingshot, the way that they told us to build it was really complicated. Like, yes, building a slingshot is not complicated, but when you've been told to do it one way, you probably, you confuse yourself because you want to do it so perfect, and maybe that's why they had a snake sweating of ropes, which is so weird.
Your survival challenge this week is to break these logs with your knees.
What?
Jeff, have fun with this one.
Oh, come on.
I mean, this thing seemed like it would have been fairly difficult for Jeff as well if he was the one belaying down. Because climbing
Of
up
course.
again, it's again just sets him back. So I'm wondering how he's going to fare next week with jumping out of the plane again, having to, or the helicopter.
Potentially hitting rocks in that river.
Yeah, I mean, his knee has been a problem this whole season. So it's going to be interesting to see how he can deal with it in the final journey.
Well, we'll have to talk to him next week about it.
Maybe. Did we hit everything in the episode?
I feel like we probably did. I
Absolutely.
feel like we're pulling teeth at this point.
Yeah, we are pulling. We're
We
pulling.
talked about Mexican food and toilet paper for 5 minutes.
We're pulling crowns.
Oh gosh. Yeah, so we have some more inside scoop. Jeff apparently lost a crown tooth on the episode. Part of his pain problems apparently came from that. So I think a lot more stuff goes down than what we see,
Of
obviously. I mean, I'm a living example of that. But I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen next week. I've been pretty solid with feeling like I knew what was coming next until this point. Like I really don't know out of these 3 teams who is going to take the cake.
I definitely don't think Lucky or Louie.
So my official review of this episode. Lucky and Louie should have gone home. Ryan and Madeline did. Womp womp. Let's get into predictions.
No more Alabama. Okay, bye.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Just keeping it real. Just keeping it
Sorry,
real. Here
y'all.
at the AfterBuzz studio.
I mean, they would have had a parting gift of toilet paper. I mean,
Oh, they got some toilet paper when they got back to their hotel room. Believe me.
I believe that.
Believe that.
I believe
I don't know
that.
what that is.
The show going to
Whatever.
11. All right, cool. So,
What?
prediction. Nothing. Don't worry about it. Predictions. Let's talk about who you think will win, who you think will not, and why.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Do you want me to go first?
Yes, because I'm
I'm
stuck.
looking at both of you, so I don't really
I'll
care
go
which one.
first. I definitely don't think Lucky or Louie. I don't think they've been consistent enough since the very beginning, and they don't really emerge as like a strong contender to win the $500,000, especially with what Bear said in this past Bears camp with how Lucky got lucky this week. I think his mind was made up. I think he really wanted to send them home this episode, so I think that's very telling. So I doubt they'll win.
But question. Like, I have a hard time with the fact that I'm not sure how Bear makes his decisions because he says he doesn't base it on anything except that challenge. Right? He doesn't really, like, take record or hold
Good
grudges
point.
or whatever. But then again, I feel like things have happened in the past that are almost you can't forget about it. So it has to play into when he makes his decision. But what if they rock it next week? Like, what if
They
they just...
easily could come out of nowhere. Maybe
But, but is that fair? Like, you know, like, do you think that's fair? That, like, just based on that next journey?
No, I think the finale is going to be a consistent based on everything that you've done to get from point A to point B, the very starting line to the very finish line. In my mind, that is how you can determine if someone gets out alive. It's everything that they've overcome from start to finish. And that's why I don't think Lucky. I mean, maybe they will from editing. Maybe they'll merge next week because it seems like Jim and Austin and Jeff and Chris have kind of gotten some airtime the last 2 weeks. And maybe now it's final hurrah, Lucky Louie take the cake. But I don't know. I don't think they're going to win. I think at the end of the day, people want Jeff and Chris to win. I think they're definitely a desirable team to win, especially with the knee. You want to root for them. You want them to succeed. But I felt like from the very beginning, this is just the competition that was made for Jim and Austin to win and take all the way. And I'd be very surprised if they didn't win. I think they came into the competition with a wealth of knowledge. They've studied Bear. They've studied his episodes, what he's done to get out alive. And, you know, I think that's going to come to help them at the end. I think Jim and Austin are going to win.
Okay.
My only contention with the Jim and Austin prediction to win is that Bear said from the beginning that this was not a strongman's competition, and it wasn't a competition to see who had the most knowledge. It was to see who learned the most, who listened the most, and who applied what they were told, and who kept the best attitude. Like because it's boring to watch a bunch of Boy Scouts do what he does. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not, the point is these are real people doing things that they would never normally do and are trying to learn and grow from what they're being taught. So if Bear doesn't feel like they've grown enough or matured in what they've learned and how they've applied it, then I think he may hold it against them.
Good point.
Just because, again, sometimes the audience may not want somebody who idolizes Bear to win, because that's not the point. You know, there's tons of people around the world that idolize Bear. They could have easily had a competition of people who love Bear Grylls. They didn't. They took a competition of people who some of us didn't even really know who he was.
Yeah.
Like knew who he was, but didn't really know a whole lot. So that's my only like maybe could happen with Jim and Austin. I still think that they probably should win. They've won the most survival tests. They have executed things a lot better than some other teams, and they want it. You know, they want it. They've been in it. They've had a pretty good attitude. I've seen a little bit of Austin's attitude come out. And a little bit of arrogance, maybe, in the fact that maybe he feels like he's little bear. I hope Jeff and Chris take it, but I don't know.
Well, my prediction is that you're not going to like it, and I don't like it either. Lucky and Louie are going to win, just for the fact that to get a second season, they're going to push the fact that the unlikely winner can win. And it's going to be the heartwarming story of a father and daughter who wins the show and gets through all obstacles together. And that's why they've been pushing that story since the beginning. They've really been pushing their dynamic. That
It's father-daughter.
Like, yeah,
they did it this episode.
especially this episode. I really think Chris and Jeff. I think Jeff's going to get injured next episode, and I think he's going to be taken out. And it's going to be between Lucky, Louie, Jim, and Austin. And I think they're not going to give it to Jim and Austin. I just don't think. I just think for selling a show-wise, like from a production standpoint, it makes more sense to give it to Lucky and Louie than it does to give them to Jim and Austin.
Yeah. Well, and two, it's a girl. There's only one girl left.
Exactly.
I think you're making some good points.
Yeah.
And Chris and Jeff, I just don't see with this. This was technically an easy challenge. Like this whole day, it was technically easy, and Jeff still a lot of stuff was going wrong. And this is another day with that missing crown. This is another day that his knee is going to be killing him.
It's true.
There's something to be said that long-standing injuries suffer from things like arthritis, things like that. And especially when you're out in the cold, it's not very good for that. And this last challenge, sleeping in the cold, thanks to Lucky and Louie, will probably put Jeff in a very bad place for the next episode. And I don't see them having to choose between three teams. I think they planned it in a way to have it be two teams in the end.
Maybe they'll do a cut halfway through and then final two battle.
Jim and Austin will probably mess up something fierce, and yeah, I only see Lucky and Louie taking it.
Now that you say all that, I couldn't agree more. I think Jim and Austin are the obvious choice.
That's what nobody wants to say. Like, you know what I mean? Like
It's what nobody wants to say
because it's more complicated. It's more complicated to
go into that
than it is to just be like, oh.
But Chris and Jeff are like two buff guys who are on this show. Okay, so who won Get Out Alive with Bear Grylls? Oh, of course it's the two buff guys.
Yeah.
But I could see their arc maybe just because in the first episode. Well, from the first episode where they made the biggest mistake and could have gone home there and winning in the end, I could see that as well, but it doesn't make as much sense as letting Louie and Lucky win.
But who's Bear going to have the most trouble sending home? Like
Jim and Austin.
He's emotionally attached to Jim and Austin and Jeff and Chris at this point, or at least Jeff. He's emotionally attached to those two teams. It's going to be so hard to let them not win, but maybe that's why he has to let the one team he's not emotionally tied to win.
Hey.
Exactly. So
Take all emotion out.
That's
so
it.
Are we all picking a different team, it seems like?
I mean, I could go for some outro music, but yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm looking forward to next episode to actually
definitely.
see what we think.
We've been waiting for it. This everything we've done so far. It's like next week we're ready. I think we have to just get through this week.
And Lucky and Louie can buy a lot of toilet paper with that $500,000.
No comment.
Just saying, maybe they can buy like a little golden flower for her hair.
Oh my god. 24 karat gold. Right?
That'd be a lucky thing to get. I was hoping Phil would play like We're Up All Night to get lucky.
Oh gosh.
Anyway,
Maybe if they win.
I am Stephen Lemieux. Thank you for joining us. You can find me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux, or join us for the Dexter, Graceland, or Twisted after show. Twisted season finale is coming up soon. And you can also catch me here at Get Alive next week, as well as our co-host here.
I'm James Wallington. You can find me on Twitter at James Wallington, on Instagram at Mr. MR James Wally, and make sure to tune into Capture on the CW tomorrow night, Tuesday at 9 o'clock, to see if I live to see another day.
Do you?
We'll find out.
Dang it. Hey guys, you can follow me at Canden Bliss. Thank you so much for tuning in to this point on Get Out Alive with Bear Grylls. So happy to have you guys as our audience. Let us know what you think about the show. Rate us on iTunes. We want to know. But just thank you for your support on our show, and we'll see you next week for the season finale.
All right, shout out to Mama Donna. Peace, guys.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you
you
glacier.
later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.